What is up, everybody? Happy Monday. Welcome back to Monday Night Bitcoin. We are here to talk about Bitcoin and everything revolving around Bitcoin for any level of Bitcoiner. And my name is Brian. George, introduce yourself. Tell
Hello.
us what you're thinking right now.
So right now, I am thinking a lot about Chaz, this autonomous zone that's been created in Capitol Hill.
Is
Literally,
that what it stands for?
yeah, Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone.
Okay.
But
Chaz.
I'm hearing they're already working on a rebrand or something. It's CHOP now, Capitol Hill Occupied Protest. But it's really hard to figure out what's real and what isn't coming out of this. But I grew up in just outside of Seattle. I know you were from the Northwest as well.
Yes, I was. I'm a big fan of the Dick's Burgers, who I'm not super good with my Seattle directions. It's tough to get up there for me, but I know I've been to a Dick's Burgers. I think it was by the stadium. I don't know if this is inside I prefer autonomous zone. I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah, we already tried occupied protests in New York, and that didn't end so well.
I would stick with autonomous zone, guys. But I would keep saying Cap Hill autonomous zone. I didn't know that's what Chaz meant. So I think Cap Hill autonomous zone sounds cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, so I've been trying to keep up with some of my friends who live in Capitol Hill, not in the zone itself, but have like been around it, gone inside and checked it out. And I can tell you that like the media reports are very different than what's actually taking place on the ground. But it does seem like they're struggling to figure out leadership and sort of next steps, actually really similar to Occupy Wall Street.
Mm-hmm. My dad texted me over the weekend and said, hey, are you in support of this autonomous zone thing? And I said, I am. Like I am. And I understand it's messy. I understand it's messy. I have family in the Northwest. I have family and friends that are up there and that feel uncomfortable and feel scared. And I want to know, I hear them and I'm with them, but I also hear and I'm with the people that are doing their thing up there in Seattle. And the reason for that is this. I'm frustrated. I'm really frustrated with the institutions and the establishment and the way that certain people in power are treating those in this country and those of us in this country that aren't in power. And I have a problem with that.
I mean, what's interesting about Chaz and a lot of things that you're speaking to is you kind of have like this, I guess you could call it a decentralized movement in a sense. It's kind of emerged from common frustrations, but there is no central like person that said, all right, we're going to take this part of the city or whatever. And it's very similar to what you see in Bitcoin in that who's in charge, who's calling the shots. And part of what's beautiful about Bitcoin is the answer to that question is nobody. That's one of the most compelling aspects of it. But because Bitcoin is a software, it's a code, it has like a very predictable protocol. That aspect of it is less problematic. There's still issues with it, specifically around language and how we talk about it, and how we promote it, how we quote unquote market it. But beyond that, Bitcoin's decentralized nature is one of its strengths. Whereas in the old world, decentralized types of hierarchies are really, really challenging because everyone sort of wants leadership, but no one wants to submit to authority, I think is one way of putting it. And actually what we talked about last week with Spiral Dynamics really gets into this, where when you're in the earlier stages of blue, and then you move into the orange and then green, you start not liking hierarchy. You're like, ugh, hierarchy. That was way back in blue. But then what happens when you get to second tier consciousness is you begin to embrace what's called redemptive hierarchy. So there's authoritarian hierarchy that you reject, but then we start to embrace what you're talking about, which is more marching orders and like, okay, we're all on the same team. Where do we go from here? As opposed to like this top-down control structure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so this was a conversation about marching orders I had on Twitter this week was, and this is related to Chaz and related to Occupy Wall Street, because I said, some Bitcoiners that, are more in tune with the software and, a little bit more mature in their journey than I am. I'm like, I want marching orders. I want to know. And like, what should I do next? Like, what are we doing in this protest? And someone said, if you need marching orders, best be, you should leave now, because there are like, and I said, or the person said, if I need marching orders, you should leave now. And I said, look, I don't need them. I want them.
Right.
I'm asking you for them. If you're a leader and you know about self-sovereignty and you live in Seattle right now and you know about like the goal of being self-sovereign and sovereign is kind of a buzzword. I don't enjoy using it all the time, but it just means in like having full control, like full control of your destiny, full control of your life, like full freedom. And so if you're educated in that, find a way to be a part of what's happening in a way that's authentic to like who you are.
Mhm.
And don't be afraid to give tips and tricks to other people. Like and then on the Bitcoin side, because it's a decentralized movement, there are some people here now, though, that know about, cypherpunk ideals and know about decentralized ideals. Share them.
Mhm.
Share them. Like sharing tips and tricks is not bad. And here's why we need marching orders. We need marching orders because the enemy has marching orders. The enemy has marching orders, and they're coming down like farther and harder every single day.
Mhm.
What's this movement saying right now? Defund police unions. What's the other side of the coin? Raising spending, like raising spending on violence. Like the other side of the coin is print more money, raise spending on violence. Those are well articulated marching orders inside the establishment and inside the institutions.
Yeah. I mean, and as you're talking, I wonder if, we talk a lot about old language and new language. I wonder if the phrase marching orders can trip people up because it is a very old world sort of, war mentality of you got the general who gives the troops marching orders. I think it sounds like what you're more speaking to is just like a general sense of direction of like, here, oh, you're good at this. Here's where we could use you in the Bitcoin protocol. It's not like you have to do this or you're going to be reprimanded in the way you would in the military, right? So it is a different dynamic than sort of old school way of thinking about marching orders. And so maybe that's part of what
Totally.
people are getting tripped up about. But
We
yeah.
all have different kinds of skills, and there's lots of movements happening all at the same time right now. And here's an example. I'm not a gun guy. Personally, I don't own a gun. I'm not a gun guy. But you want to know what I am? I'm a proud custodial gun user. My homeowners association, we pay for private security. I'm a proud user of that custodial solution because that brings autonomy. My house is an autonomous zone. My house is an autonomous zone. Like I am sovereign here. Like I have freedom here. And
Well,
when
you
you
still
talk
pay
about
taxes
all,
though.
huh?
You still pay property taxes though. So you're like
We're working.
partially
Yeah. We're,
you're
no,
getting there.
exactly. That's great. We're working on it. Like we're working on it at all levels. At all levels, we're bringing things back more locally, more localism, more decentralization, more people having full power of everything. And so you're right. And that's where Bitcoin is to banks what Uber was to taxis. We're moving on.
So ever since we started Monday Night Bitcoin 4 weeks ago, this is our fifth episode. I don't know about you, Brian, but I've been getting hit up a ton more from friends, family, people that I haven't heard from in years, just wondering like, why are you so excited about this? What is it about Bitcoin? Where do I start is another huge question. So that's you. A couple things I want to say. One, we are working on completely revamping our website, and we're trying to create the one-stop shop resource for people who are just like you, for Normie Nation, for
Mhm.
folks who are very curious but don't really know where to start and just want a concise sort of step-by-step guide of how to really not just buy Bitcoin, but really how to like fully entrenched in this revolution, this evolution
Right.
that we keep speaking to. And so that's coming. Hopefully this week, the new website will be ready. But
Right.
also go back and watch the episodes and ask questions. Like honestly, we want to create an environment where people can ask very, very simple questions. Because someone who is like isn't into the protest part of it, isn't like super uncomfortable, maybe like they're middle class or whatever.
Mhm.
Why should they care?
So they should care because number go up. Like they should care if you're already an investor. If you feel good, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like then Bitcoin is great savings. It's a great opportunity for savings because in the same way that people, hedge fiat money printing with gold, you can do the same thing with Bitcoin. And so if you're into stocks, you're into gold, you're already a startup investor, you're already whatever, like just add Bitcoin, to your portfolio. That's not bad.
So
And
number go up. What is that? So people talk about that a lot. NGU technology. Can you share
right.
a little bit, unpack that a little bit?
Yeah. So number go up just means like paper money has an infinite supply. You can go back and watch the 60 Minutes when Jerome Powell and Neil Kashkari said on 60 Minutes, we have an infinite supply of money. Bitcoin has a fixed supply of money. So then you do the math. If you have an infinite money on this side and a fixed supply of money on this side, which like each unit of this is going to be worth a ton of this if they just keep printing. And that's why, that's like printing. You can see houses go up, stocks go up, everything goes up, right? But then what happens? The printing stops and there's a correction. Gold, like Bitcoin, there's potential for corrections also, but the fixed nature will make it a more steady thing over time. So it's a positive thing to have if you're, comfortable. It's a positive thing to have as part of your portfolio.
So I'm hearing you say that Bitcoin is designed to pump forever. The number is designed to keep going up forever and ever. There'll be volatile swings along the way, but in the grand scheme of things, the protocol is designed for the number to keep increasing.
Yes, that's what it's designed for. And because because think about that in terms of purchasing power also. Like it's the reverse. That sounds sketchy, right? That sounds sketchy and crazy. Like, what are you guys talking about? Right. But think about the current way. Your purchasing power continues to go down. The actual value of a single unit of dollar, like what does dollar mean? What did dollar mean 50 years ago? And what does dollar mean today? Less. It means less.
Less money.
And so in that sense, so in that sense, this is the opposite, which means the purchasing power will continue to get better as the purchasing power of the dollar continues to get worse.
Okay, so Bitcoin is not a stock. You're not investing in a company. You're not buying mutual funds. You're not adding to your 401k. Mm-hmm. You are switching to a better currency, to a harder currency, a currency that's been compared to digital gold, which is a helpful analogy, but it does even that falls short of Bitcoin's true potential because it is an innovation on top of gold. So
exactly. And so are you going to keep going on so I was going to get into, so Bitcoin is also for poor people. Like mm-hmm. we talked about how Bitcoin is for the middle class as an investment, mm-hmm. Sure. But it can also be for
and a hedge. An investment and a hedge against if you have equity in your house, or if you already have a bunch of cash, or you have stocks, but you're looking at all these like signals and you're like, this is sketchy and not sustainable. What's happening in the stock market when Hertz files for bankruptcy and then its stock goes up? Like, those fundamentals seem off. Bitcoin is actually a hedge against all of that BS.
Right. You're right. If Bitcoin was just a thing for rich people, I don't think either George or I would be sitting here. And we definitely wouldn't be using the word revolution. Like maybe maybe I would still be interested in it, but that's because of, who I am and like the just situation that I am, in my life. But so if it's just a stock, that's not interesting. That's
definitely boring. So one of the questions I keep hearing more and more as people get interested into that part of the conversation, that it is for people who are the 99 or poor people or whatever, is, well, if there's 21 million only, how then do we make sure that their income inequality goes away? Or like, how does Bitcoin solve inequity? Early adopters are just going to stash a bunch, and I think this is one of Mark Cuban's things that he's raised as someone who's like a notable Bitcoin critic. Mm-hmm. So what's your response to that? How do we avoid just creating a new parallel system that's just as inequitable as the current system?
Totally. This one's hard. Like, this one's hard, guys. And it's not a bad question. Like, if you feel like that, it's not a bad question, and it's hard. There's not going to be exactly one way to put all your concerns to rest because it's hard, because the 99 has been ripped off so many times by so many different people. Like, look, this is the pitch. Like, this was the pitch in, Hope and Change. This is the pitch in Make America Great Again. This is the pitch in every politician, everything from city council to, Congress to president, every single year. Hey, just trust me, I'll make it more fair. Hey, just trust me, I'll make it more fair. Like, you don't need just another guy, me, sitting here and telling you, hey, just trust me, it'll be fair. So what I want to say to that question is, what I want to say is, I don't know. It's not bad. Like, you're right. You're taking a risk. Like, you're taking a gamble. You're taking a risk and you're taking a gamble. It's not for sure. It's not for sure. Like taking down the unfair system is not for sure.
Right.
It's not. And I can't sit here. I can't sit here and say it's sure. Like, but I can tell you that it's it's the only thing that I've got. Like it's the only thing that I'm seeing that has a potential to reset the world. It's the only thing that has potential to unmask the corruption. And because it is software that can't be changed, no central person can change the software. It means that you can use the software and you can run the software and no one can steal from you. And no one, the corruption can't touch you because you run the software and you have full control over the software. When you fully take advantage of it and you fully own the software inside your house, no one is able to do it, regardless of the amount of units or purchasing power or whatever that someone else has, some other user has in any other part of the world, in any currency, other part of the world. The fact that you are running this software and you can exchange commerce and sell your labor and use your labor on this network means that you can have the most full control over your time and your wealth and your labor. It's going to change. It can change your relationship to your oppressors. It can change your relationship to the people that you have to work for money. It can change. It can make life not feel like a hamster wheel. And so there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees, and it might be hard and it might be clunky and it's harder for some of us to run than others to run. But I would argue that the alternative is worse. I would argue that the gamble is worth it. I would argue that it is worth it to try. It's worth it to have a little bit of hope in something new outside of old world politics. Like put your hope in a new paradigm, in a new world, to try something different.
Amen. And I love how passionate you are. It's I didn't expect that, but I think that was very right on. Like I think this is important, and I think the urgency increases every single day. And I love your heart for actually seeing Bitcoin as a tool that helps other people and not just something that is like this fun hobby that we sort of nerd out about. Like, no, this is real and this is happening and the world is crazy, and it's, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's, the craziness is accelerating. And so we need answers, we need solutions, we need people who are passionate about bringing about those solutions. And so, I mean, as far as the inequality of Bitcoin, I think that we have to recognize a couple of things. One, it's fair game. You know, you're hearing about Bitcoin, whether you're listening to this or you've heard about it on the news or whatever. And so you now have the responsibility to explore it and to do your own research and to find out, okay, what does this mean for me? And as long as you know that's happened, then you can't really claim inequality because everybody has equal opportunity. Unlike when the Fed says we're going to print $6 trillion. Well, guess what? You don't get to decide who gets that money. They get to decide.
Right.
And that's what creates real inequality. When that money goes, when the freshest $100 bills off that printer go to corporations instead of the quote unquote essential workers, that's what fuels inequality. It's the unequal, arbitrary distribution.
Right.
That somebody gets to sit in a boardroom and decide the allocation of those resources. Whereas with Bitcoin, everybody's invited. Everybody can decide. Now, granted, I'm sure people are saying, well, sure, but the people who have a lot of fiat right now can decide to take a bigger chunk of the pie than somebody who is just, you know, humbly stacking sats. Yeah, that's true. That's really true. And that's the hard part. But in a world where, let's just say what we're predicting happens, fiat currencies collapse, Bitcoin becomes the global reserve currency. Guess what? That person who was humbly stacking sats and just sort of trying to store their wealth in something that they could control, they're going to find themselves in a much more favorable position than that person who was rich in fiat currency but didn't hedge, didn't buy any Bitcoin, didn't trade any other fiat for it. They're going to be in a much stronger position. And the other dynamic that's very different is, sure, some people might have more than others, but they can't create new Bitcoin. They're not close to the money printing machine. Kind of like Brian was saying, they can't just change the protocol and now they're even more rich. So in a Bitcoin world, the rich don't keep getting richer unless they create actual real world value. And the poor don't keep getting poorer unless they cease to create real world value. It is
Right. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a don't get more poor slowly scheme.
Right.
And it's don't let the rich get more rich slowly scheme. It's the path of the money. The path of the current money is not fair. That's the reason why the gap between Western countries and non-Western countries is growing also. So in the same way that you have the gap here, like it's the path of the money is not fair.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is an invitation for everyone. Not everyone will accept the invitation. And that's why some people get a little bit frustrated with us and our desire to reach normies, because they're like, well, not everyone's going to get it. I agree. Not everyone's going to get it. Yeah. But guess what? I'm still going to keep talking about it because I believe that there is good news here, and there is hope here. That honestly, if there wasn't Bitcoin, if it wasn't, I've said this before, if it wasn't as far along as it was for a time such as this, it would be really, really difficult to find hope for a way out of our current mess. So
totally. So with that, that's heavy. It's heavy. We appreciate like these questions, and we appreciate other people willing to take a look at it. We're gonna roll a commercial for an app that can get you in the game. It can get you in the economy in a way that's simple that you can do from your couch right now.
Okay, y'all, go ahead and open up your Fold app. And in the beginning, you're going to see spin the wheel. And you always want to spin your wheel every day so that you can get rewards. So I'm going to go ahead and spin. And dun da da da, I get, yes, 500 bonus sats back. Excellent. So I'll go ahead and show you what they have to offer really quickly. From Amazon to Chipotle, Gap, Macy's, Sephora, Ulta, all my favorites. But for today, I actually need to get an Amazon gift card. My debit card is already linked and I need $25, so all I need to do is scroll to the bottom and click Buy Card. Then you gotta wait for it to think. Do. And just like that, I earn sats back on my gift card. Then all you need to do is redeem card now. It automatically links to your Amazon account. You apply it to your balance, and there you have it. Now you have your new balance already set, and you are completely done. Simple as that.
Hey, if you made it this far, thanks for hanging out with us today. Do all the good stuff. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, hit the bell next to the subscribe button, and leave us a comment. Tell us where you're at in your Bitcoin journey.
thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week on Monday Night Bitcoin.